It is talkSPORT Extra Time. It's Friday, of course, and the countdown to Christmas is well and truly underway. So at least one of the films that I know Van Connor's going to recommend for this weekend on the small screen, all on Freeview, is a fantastic Christmas film. But what else is he packing? Let's find out as we say good morning and welcome back to TS Extra Time to our mate Van Connor. Good morning, Van.
And a good morning to you as well, Mr. Ross.
And you're starting with what looks to me like, is it a rom-com? A film I know nothing about, I must confess. The Big Wedding on Paramount, and it's 9 o'clock tonight.
Indeed. Now, this is don't be dismayed that you've not heard of it. It seems like most people didn't hear about this. Really overlooked. It wasn't quite a rom-com. It was just a sort of familial wedding comedy, an all-star familial wedding comedy from 2013. My family and I actually watched this by chance the night before my sister's wedding that year. It stars it's an all-star cast, including Robert De Niro, Susan Sarandon, Diane Keaton, Topher Grace, Ben Barnes, Katherine Heigl. It was it's an ensemble comedy about a family who come together for their adopted son's wedding. His birth mother comes to visit. She's very traditional, and she's not a fan of divorce in the family. However, Robert De Niro and Diane Keaton are divorced. Robert De Niro has since married her best friend, played by Susan Sarandon, and they're forced to, let's just say, stage a sort of a ruse to present the idea of the perfect.
I must say, this has passed me by completely, and I'm a bit of a Robert De Niro completist, and I love Susan Sarandon as well, so I'm looking forward to this.
Well, this is the thing, Robert De Niro actually trying in this one, which is kind of rare for him in comedies this century. Got a clip for you of Susan Sarandon pointing out the obvious flaw in this plan.
Just pretend to be married for the weekend. What's the big deal?
Where would you like me to start? Sweetie, there's just one little part that I'm stuck on. If those two are still married, then what does that make me?
My concubine?
This is going to go great.
So that's 9 o'clock tonight. It's on Paramount. It's a great recommendation there. I want to go earlier than that, though, this afternoon, Van, with my Friday recommendation. A great, mad, bonkers 60s science fiction film from 1966, in fact. It's called Fantastic Voyage. The director, Richard Fleischer, pulled out all the stops on this one. It stars that queen of 60s sex appeal, Raquel Welch. Stephen Boyd's in it, was the bad guy in Ben-Hur, and a very young indeed Robert Duvall. And basically, they shrink down a load of adventurers and scientists and doctors to try and zap an injury inside the head of a world leader. The setup is fantastic. You must have seen this, Van, have you?
Oh, I have indeed. But also, it's been parodied so many times. I think Family Guy's had a go, Archer, Rick and Morty, everyone's had a go.
And Martin Short made Inner Space, didn't he, with, I think, Dennis Quaid, which is much the same story.
One of my favourite movies, Inner Space, as well. And would you believe James Cameron has spent much of the last 20 years attempting to get this remade?
Oh, well, I wish he would. But the original is still fantastic. It's 2:40 this afternoon on Film 4. Buckle up for a fantastic voyage. Here's the trailer.
It is only one short step into the fantastic. Thank you. You are going to take that step into a world of beauty and terror that no human being has ever penetrated before. The incredible world you will explore in Fantastic Voyage. This is the starting point. The vast subterranean complex where a secret army of scientists, doctors, and technicians has been mobilized to carry out an operation vitally urgent to the security of the free world. Behind these doors, the Fantastic Voyage begins.
But Fantastic Voyage moves in a different direction than any other picture ever made. A voyage into inner space. An incredible journey into the living body of this man. After this submarine and everyone in it is shrunk down to the size of a single cell.
OK, so that's my first recommendation for today. What have you got for us tomorrow, for Saturday, Van?
We're less than a week away from the end of the current Star Wars saga, so I thought, why not go back to what I think has turned out to really be the most crowd-pleasing one of the current cycle of Star Wars movies. It's 2016's Gareth Edwards-directed Rogue One, A Star Wars Story.
I didn't like the prequels, as nobody much did. The first two I've seen of the new trilogy, pretty darn fine. Are you a fan of these, then, Van? Van?
I'm a fan of the new Star Wars movies. I'm one of those weird people who thinks that The Last Jedi is the Star Wars answer to Skyfall or The Dark Knight. Rogue One, for me, is how you do a prequel right. It's a prequel, spin-off. I mean, the whole film is designed to fill in a plot hole, which is why does the Death Star have that weirdly vulnerable exhaust port.
Yeah.
This has got a frankly brilliant cast that includes Mads Mikkelsen, Ben Mendelsohn, Donnie Yen, Forrest Whitaker, and of course, hot off the heels of Oscar love for The Theory of Everything, Felicity Jones. And the plot is, let's go and steal the plans for the Death Star that will, of course, kick off the plot of the original 1977 Star Wars A New Hope. Here's a clip of just how they got their name.
That's an impounded Imperial ship. What's your call sign, pilot?
We have to go.
It's
Say something. Come on.
Rogue? Rogue One.
Rogue One? There is no Rogue One.
Well, there is now. Rogue One. Pulling away. Pulling away.
Now, I'm going to go in the very early hours of Saturday morning, so it's 1:15. It's a documentary, first time I've recommended one, I think, pretty much with you, Van, and it's After the Screaming Stops, which I think everybody who's seen, it's changed everybody's perception of Luke and Matt Goss. It's one of those weird documentaries that half the time you think you're laughing at them, that's certainly the beginning, and then you begin to laugh with them, and then it becomes, I thought, incredibly moving, because it's about their journey in Bros, and then what happened to them afterwards, family tragedies along the way, an amazing documentary. It's on BBC4, 1:15 a.m. in the early hours of Saturday morning. Let's have a listen to the boys in action.
Don't shut me down. I'm going to speak. Listen.
All right, Luke.
I'm going to speak. I'm going to speak.
You're going to speak.
You're going to speak, are you? Do you want Let me tell you yourself.
One group happened to literally have swept the whole board.
Guess who I'm going to present this to? Bros.
Cracking documentary, this, Van. I thought you must have seen this one. Also, it kind of helped Bros reinvent themselves, I think, after they got back together.
Especially so. I mean, I'm too young really to experience Bros as an active, as a band active on the scene.
Yeah, kind of mid to late 80s. They were huge, of course, in this country.
Yeah, very true. And obviously, to someone like me, Bros is a punchline from a Vicar of Dibley gag.
Yeah.
And watching this was a very eye-opening experience. I know Luke Goss as, the star of direct-to-video sequels and Blade 2.
Yeah.
But, it was a real eye-opener.
And the lads made a fair fist of doing what the Kemp brothers did when the twins played the Richardson brothers in a not bad film about that kind of crime family. But this is in 1:15. It's in the early hours of tomorrow morning, Saturday morning, and we've got for you on Sunday another early recommendation. I love this film. I love a Western. I love a Western set in the snowy mountains of the Midwest, and this is Jeremiah Johnson, made in 1972. It's one of half a dozen films that director Sidney Pollack made with Robert Redford, based on a true story of a mountain man out there in the wilds. I don't think this did gangbusters at the box office. I love this movie. Be warned, it is a little on the long side, but it's ITV4, 11:10 Sunday morning, or ITV4 +1 an hour later. And here's a clip from the trailer.
His name was Jeremiah Johnson. They say he wanted to be a mountain man. Nobody knows whereabouts he come from, and don't seem to matter much. He's a young man, and ghosty stories about the tall hills didn't scare him none. Bought him a good horse and traps and another truck that went with being a mountain man, and said goodbye to whatever life was down there below. This here's his story.
Robert Redford as Jeremiah Johnson.
Jeremiah Johnson made his way into the mountains.
I know who you are. You're the same dumb pilgrim I've been hearing for 20 days and smelling for 3.
As you know, Van, I love me Westerns. Although they used to say in Hollywood, didn't they, if it's snow, they won't go. And they said there's something about the kind of, the cold experience on the big screen that didn't always play with the audience. But Robert Redford, I think, and Sidney Pollack together, a rather underrated combination. They've made so many films together.
Oh, they were the Scorsese and DiCaprio of their time, absolutely. And also, Redford doing a Western was always a wonderful thing, wasn't he?
And he's got the beard in this one as well. Fantastic film, this. And you finally got for us on Sunday afternoon, evening, one of the best Christmas films, I think, of all time.
I think so. And I've been counting down the days till I got to recommend this Christmas, so I'm finally going to drop the hammer. I'm finally going to do it. Sunday, 6:10 on ITV. It's finally time to watch Elf, the 2003 classic, starring Will Ferrell.
Santa's coming!
Why are you smiling like that?
I just like to smile. Smiling's my favorite.
Make work your favorite. That's your favorite, okay?
Okay.
Work is your new favorite.
Fine.
It's time for the announcement. Okay, people, tomorrow morning, 10 a.m., Santa's coming to town.
Santa! Oh, my God! Santa here? I know him. I know him.
There was talk of an Elf sequel, wasn't there? I mean, it's a brilliant film, folks, so make sure you catch that. It's one to record and can watch it any time of the year. But there was vague talk of a sequel, but I think Will Ferrell's scotched that now, hasn't he?
I hope they never do. I think Elf is a perfect Christmas movie, just as it is. It never needs touching. Never, ever remake it. I mean, obviously, they're attempting to reboot Home Alone, as has been in the news this week.
Yeah.
Never touch Elf. Everything about it is genius. It's funnier now, for instance, that Peter Dinklage is in it as the author who attacked Will Ferrell. James Caan is just priceless in it.
Bob Newhart, king of 60s comedies in it, of course, isn't he, as the genuine Elf. It's a great film. You've been a great guest, as ever, Van, one of our regulars, of course. Can we do it all again next Friday?
That sounds like an absolute plan to me, Mr. Ross.
Have a great week and stay safe. It's me, Paul Ross, with Van Connor on talkSPORT Extra Time.